So today we have some more news on Final Fantasy XVI, specifically focusing on that PC release, as well as Yoshi P and the team looking to hopefully get the game onto other platforms. So if any of that sounds cool to you, feel free to click the like button, and if you're new here and you'd like to stick around and help out the channel, you can subscribe and leave a comment. It goes a long way to helping me out. So starting off first with Yoshi P and the team looking to get Final Fantasy XVI onto other platforms. This comes to us via Noisy Pixel, where they sat down with Yoshi P and the crew to talk about the wind down period of Final Fantasy XVI and if they're feeling any kind of sad emotions as they're finishing up the project, which leads Yoshi P to say this. It's not over in the sense that we have the PC version. Once the PC version is released, we're thinking about hopefully moving to other platforms as well. However, that's not really talking about the story. It's more about moving it onto different platforms. So there is a sense that while the project is still going, there is not that sense of being sad and having to leave them yet. But I'm pretty sure that once everything is released and we've moved on to the next project, that would be the time where it kind of hits us that, oh, it's really over. So there have been rumors for quite some time now about Final Fantasy XVI making the jump over to Xbox, but a lot of those have been rumors that have come from sources that I don't know if they're really reliable. You know, what's the validity there? But this is coming directly from Yoshi P now. So the possibility of this game ending up on another platform is starting to become more of a reality. Now, as far as what other platforms, obviously there's the PC version, which we will get to in just a bit, but technically the only other platform that I could see handling this game and running it well is an Xbox Series X. I think even the Series S might struggle at times with what that game is trying to do on a technical level, because there really is a lot going on with those iconic boss battles. And although I did experience some frame rate drops in the main game, whenever the game needed to perform in those sequences, it never buckled and it looked and performed really well. And I think the Series X is more than powerful enough to be able to handle that game. Now, if we're talking about a Nintendo Switch, that's just not in the cards. The Switch is way too underpowered to have 16 on that platform, and you would have to make some pretty severe sacrifices to that game in terms of its look and performance to get it to run on a Switch. And I'm pretty sure if you put it on a Switch, you would literally find the flame yourself, because your console would probably combust and burst into flames because it would just be too much to handle. Now, there is the rumored Switch 2, which is supposed to be more powerful than the Switch, so maybe they could find a way to get it onto there. But the other possibility here is the PlayStation 5 Pro, which is rumored to be substantially more powerful than a regular PS5. So if they can figure out the PC version of 16 and create a version for the PS5 Pro that maybe isn't as good as the PC version, but comes pretty close and provides, console users with the best version of 16 on a console, that could definitely happen as well. And of course, you do have the streaming options like xCloud. Nvidia has their own streaming service. Sony's really kind of trying to put theirs together as well. But with 16 being such an action-focused, heavy game, it really relies on proper inputs and proper timing. I don't know if that game would work that well on streaming. It might be a bit of a gamble. And then the one that's probably least likely to happen would be mobile. If they could find a way to get this game onto a mobile platform like phones and tablets, which, it's really out there, but if you look at Capcom, they found a way to get Resident Evil 4 Remake running on the newest iPhones, and it seems to look and perform relatively well, but that one's a little bit more out there. But either way, trying to get this game onto other platforms is a really great move, and it introduces it to a completely new fan base, and if they like 16, they might want to check out the previous Final Fantasy, so it's kind of a win-win for everybody there. And although Sony had a hand in developing this game and, definitely putting up some of the money, at the end of the day, it is Square's property, and once exclusivity deals expire, I think they can do with it what they want. Now, moving over to that PC version, earlier this week Famitsu reported that there will be a complete edition of Final Fantasy XVI launching on the PC, meaning it'll have the base game as well as its two pieces of DLC, Echoes of the Fallen and the Rising Tide, which is super cool. And we've got some more information on the PC version, this coming to us from MMORPG.com, where they sat down with Yoshi P to talk about optimizing that PC release of 16. Yoshi P goes on to say, right now our engineers are working on that optimization and figuring out what the limits are. We've seen some hardware getting that frame rate up over 100 frames per second in places, but again, it's going to depend on the hardware that you have. We're doing a lot of testing on that now, but the better the hardware you have, the better you're gonna see. Because there's so many variables with that, because everybody has different kinds of hardware, what we're going to do is, before the release of the PC version, we're going to release a PC version demo. Players will be able to test out this demo and see how their PC PC can perform, then decide whether they need a better PC if they want to improve performance. We'll give players the option to do that. So that's good, but the one thing that we don't want is people buying the game on PC and finding out it doesn't run on their computer. By having this demo, people can know exactly how it's going to run on their PC and whether they're fine with that. So I'm actually really excited to see the PC version of this game up and running on a maxed out, beefed out rig, because again, technically on the PS5, the game is very impressive. Now there are some frame rate issues that I did have running through the towns and some of the larger areas, but that's just kind of natural, I would think, when you have so much stuff on screen. The frame rate's just going to take a dip. Whether or not they can fix that in a patch later on, I have no idea. But with them, optimizing the PC version, they might find some ways to fix that stuff and have it optimized, not just for PC, but also for the PlayStation 5 version too. So to see this game up and running on a maxed out rig at, 100 plus frames per second could be pretty gnarly. And I'm just really curious to see what the visual fidelity upgrade is going to be for Final Fantasy XVI, because it is a very beautiful game. And again, those iconic boss battles have so many particle effects and weather effects and these huge creatures just going at it. So to see that at 100 plus frames per second on a maxed out rig, that's just going to be super exciting. So I can't wait to see how that performs and what people are able to do specifically with mods. Are you going to mod in new characters, new abilities, new weapons? The possibilities are really endless. And just for a quick note, they do say again that they're going to have that demo for the PC version. As far as a release date for the demo, they don't have one, but Yoshi P does state that around the time they announce the release date for the full PC version, they'll probably have that demo ready to go somewhere around that time frame. So the game is around less than a year away on PC. I wouldn't be shocked if they can get it out in June, which would be close to a year after the console version release, and that would be a pretty relatively quick turnaround from having the PS5 version now to the PC. Now, I do want to point out one very interesting quote from Yoshi P in regards to the Rising Tide and its endgame content, because it sounds very interesting. Yoshi P goes on to say, the endgame content is a completely new type of battle system, a new type of framework that we created just for this. And so those who really get into it and want to get really good at it can end up spending a lot of time on that as well, but that's up to the player. So I have no idea what they're talking about with this completely new battle system. They did already introduce the Kairo's Gate challenge, which is, from my understanding, a survival challenge with the, main combat that we're used to. So what this new endgame content, this new battle system could be is very intriguing to me. And we do know that the Rising Tide DLC doesn't end with the Leviathan boss fight. You do the boss fight, but there's still more stuff you can do. And all in all, this is going to be about a 10-hour DLC, so there's going to be a lot of stuff that they fit into it. New characters, new combat stuff. But I'm very curious to see what they mean by this whole new type of battle system. And going back to the Noisy Pixel article, they're talking a little bit about the side quests and how they're going to try and make sure that the side quests in this DLC really do help move the story forward. Yoshi P says, when it comes to the side quests in the Rising Tide, we've tried to do that same thing and not just have them kind of be thrown in. Instead, we want them to actually tell the story that is going to tie in with what's going on in the main scenario, which is connected to what's going on in the world. For Final Fantasy XVI, you're going to have players who skipped all the side quests and those who only played the main content. And then you're also going to have players that wanted to complete everything. Then amongst those people, you're going to have people who think, wow, this was such a great quest. Why wasn't it part of the main scenario? But the other side is that if it was part of the main scenario, then you might have had people on the other side complaining like, why was this question based here? There are no interesting battles, there are no interesting rewards. This may lead to people putting the controller down there because it's just not interesting, so it's moved to the side. So not to beat a dead horse here, but if you've watched my previous videos, I really did not like the side quests in 16. I thought a majority of them were kind of just bare bones, very repetitive, and didn't always move the story forward. But honestly, reading this quote, I feel kind of attacked by Yoshi P, because I fall into that camp where I did everything in that game. And I came across some side quests where I thought to myself, this should not be a side quest, this should be main story quest. There's a really beautiful quest towards the end of the game between Clive and Torgal, where Torgal takes Clive back to Rosaria, and they go to this old hideout that Clive used to have. It's like his clubhouse. And Torgal shows him this pile of scraps, which has all of the training weapons and armors that Clive used as a kid. And when the incident at Phoenix Gate went down, everything was lost. But Torgal never gave up hope and always kept searching searching for Clive, and he would recover certain things here and there and bring them back to that little spot. And he shows that to Clive, and it's this really beautiful moment that pushes the story forward and builds up both Clive and Torgal as characters. And I was really shocked that that was relegated to side content instead of being main quest. And I think there's a number of examples that you could have had main quest stuff be side quest and vice versa. Another great one is reuniting with Ambrosia, which was also relegated to being a side quest. And Ambrosia is this chocobo that is so important to Clive. You know, it's a chocobo that risked its life to protect Clive. So to have their reunion only be side quest and not main quest was really kind of baffling to me, because it is another beautiful moment of Clive reconnecting with Ambrosia, a part of his past, and being able to take her into the future, you know, to help save the world. So I really do think that 16 would have benefited from trimming down the number of side quests that it had and really focusing on the story-based ones, with only having a few here and there that are purely about rewards or just kind of doing random stuff. And they are fixing that, you know, to their credit. They're adding a new icon system that will show you which side quests are going to be focused on story and which will be focused on more of the rewards aspect of things. So I do give them credit for that. And I don't want to compare this to 7 Rebirth because they are such vastly different games that are trying to do different things, but I do enjoy the side quests in Rebirth. I think all of them so far have either been amazing, good, or kind of meh. But even the ones that are kind of meh, you're still pushing the story forward and you're learning so much more about those characters and the world, and it's being built up so well. And they clearly put a lot of love and effort into that stuff, which some people are just not going to see. And to avoid spoilers, there's one specific quest in Rebirth where let's just say a very important character shows up in the side quest. And I'm thinking to myself, what's this character doing here? This cutscene is super high quality. They treat it like it's a main story cutscene, and it does raise more questions and it pushes the story forward. And that's something that you could miss if you just didn't do that side quest. So there's definitely a right balance there to find when it comes to that stuff. And I'm hoping the Rising Tide does have side quests that are like that, that push the story forward, that build up the characters and their bonds, and also give us cool rewards. So with that being said, that is the video. Let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think so far about Yoshi P and the team wanting to try and get 16 onto other platforms? And if they're able to do so, what platforms do you think 16 could land on? I will see you guys in the next video. Please remember to always be excellent to one another.